I think another thing that really is innovative is a lot of the techniques that I use, the strategies, like for instance, the same North Coast program, use of the spoken word, other things with parents, using different kinds of interactive methods for people to really look at themselves and see, well, who am I as a person, without feeling uncomfortable or without feeling I'm being judged. But I can easily open myself to this program because in the long run, I am going to benefit from it. And I think that is what has been happening over the years. I think that is what has been happening.
So challenges aside, over the last 25 years, what are you most proud of?
That the organization still exists and is respected.
Mm-hmm.
That it's respected for the work that it has done. The core thing that we wanted from the beginning and from day one that we planned, it was almost a watchword, is the accountability.
Yes. Yeah.
We always wanted to make sure that every penny that came into the organization was accounted for, and being ethical in the way that we do things. That's crucial, and it has stayed, and even beyond my tenure, it continues, clearly. I'm really proud of that core that we created, that other organizations can look at ParentingTT as an organization that is trustworthy. Because when we first started, there was so many bad things being said about NGOs, and particularly about the way they managed or didn't manage money and their unreliability. And we determined we are not going to be like that under no circumstances. So the organization has blossomed and bloomed beyond what we imagined it would be. I'm really proud of that.
The other thing that I'm proud of is, I think it was important for us that the organization grow beyond us. It still is important. And we had funders who encouraged us to think that we cannot be in the organization forever. That Barbara and I and Dorian and Laura need to hand it over if it is to grow. It's just like a plant. If it's in a small pot, it will stay small. If you want it to grow, we need to transition it to a bigger pot. And it meant taking the risk that if we hand it over to other people, that it may not work. But how do we support it so that it works? How do we maintain the philosophy of how we treat people, about our accountability, about our quality of work, about our uniqueness? How do we ensure that? And it took risks because we couldn't ensure that. We still can't. We never will be able to. But we can support it. How do we support it? Through our interaction with the organization, through our being available and present, and the paperwork that we have left behind, the trail, the paper trail, the evidence of what we've done, what people can go back to as they come in and learn about the organization, and then mentoring people so that they learn how they can also be innovative, that they also have this wisdom. And if ParentingTT looks different 10 years from now, that is different but still innovative. It's different but still moving forward. It's still state of the art in the way it approaches it.
And Marina and Barbara, you are both in a select group of founders who just flat out decided that you were going to hand over the reins of the leadership of the NGO, your NGO, to a second generation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a decision that you all consciously made, and you worked towards that succession planning. How would you say that transition happened?
Scary.
Or how was
it? Scary.
It was planned. It was a
planned.
Project.
Yes.
It was a project that I went into a workshop with.
Yes.
And the workshop helped me to strategize how I would do it and all the steps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had help and support from other leaders
Yes.
who had stepped out. But it was difficult because of the whole issue. I knew that I didn't want to leave the organization. I didn't want the person who followed me to have to deal with some of the things that I had to deal with, like a really lousy salary.
Because you were the executive director
Yes.
from inception.
Yes.
So
So there was the salary was bad. Then the turnover of staff and being able to access the quality of people that we needed, that was crucial. So I wanted there to be a change of mentality in terms of we're not an NGO, and the NGO mentality of it's a charity, so it's going to be
Yeah.
this
You can
kind
take
of
what you
standard.
get.
This is a business that has to function like a business, and therefore the people within it must be business-like and must be paid respectfully. That was a crucial thing. So shifting from a charity mentality to a business mentality and aiming to find ways to make the organization sustainable. Those were some of the crucial factors that we were thinking of. One of the challenges, of course, was that as founders, we've been playing many roles, like 5 jobs. So to replace one person needed 3 or 4 people to fill the roles that I'd been carrying out. And that was a challenge. So it had to be what I decided needed to be the most important factor to look for was that accountability and the ethical nature. I felt if we could find
Integrity.
someone who had that integrity and would maintain the integrity of the organization, all the other things could fall into place. And so that was a key factor in selecting the person who would continue and then creating support around that person. Of course, having been in an organization for 21 or so years, then to hand over to somebody else, it's kind of difficult to hand over 20 years of information in a short time.
Yes.
So there's some things, that cannot be done.
Yeah.
It just can't be done. And in a way, you don't want that to happen because the person who's coming in has to do their own innovation and take their own steps in the direction that they feel is best for the organization now. So that in itself is a newness. So there are old things that have to be, they might have been good, they weren't perfect, but they had to be left behind for something new to come in.
And I think at that time too, the organization was growing rapidly.
Yeah.
And we,
It was the growth
it was,
spurt.
and so when you just mentioned about, you performing 5 different jobs, we needed
to have people.
we had to have more people because of the growth of the organization.
More bodies.
And so it couldn't be one person doing 5 jobs anymore because we had too much work to do. And I think that is a testament, the growth is a testament that ParentingTT is a reputable organization, is still respected highly by funders, because everything is done by word of mouth. And the fact that we continually get referrals through word of mouth where we don't have to pound pavement, I think that's just a testament to the core, the reputation that you were talking about, and the transition in leadership that you talked about just a second ago. I think all of those things are really things, like phenomenal things to be proud of, And Dorian, I don't know if there's something that you particularly
I just
proud of.
wanted to see, well, I had it here. I mean, the organization was really growing in scope. And for me, that growth meant there was a trust coming from external agencies, like when the International Institute of Education in the US engaged Barbara Services to do this training with NGOs in Trinidad and Tobago. And then when the Children's Authority decided to use the services of ParentingTT, such well-established organizations to turn to ParentingTT, to me it said a lot.
And then
It
National
said a
Family
lot.
Services
It is,
Division.
right. It said a whole lot, and coming from there, it meant that everything just continued, that the whole transition of leadership just merged and gelled well, because the person coming in understood the philosophy of ParentingTT, had good management skills, and was really able to come in there and take it and continue to take it, where it needed to be, even on a different, well, not a different level per se, but take the growth to a higher level. And I am proud of that we were able to finally have qualified people, and not just people with experience. I mean, I was one of those persons, and I am not ashamed of it or anything, but I think it was really a good thing that we were able to finally say, yes, we are in a position to hire qualified people.
And another thing that I'm proud of, which links into that, is that as an organization, we were always out there involved in things that were
Yes.
going on.
Yes.
So when the government was doing their research on the national parenting program, we were part of that.
Yes.
We were involved in that. When we were pushing to get NGO support from government for staffing, ParentingTT was involved in that. So out of that, we were able, a year later, to get staff that were paid by the national training program.
Yeah.
So by being a part of what is happening with other things, that has come back to ParentingTT as a benefit. So we're not just sitting in this little area doing what we do for people coming. We're actually part of the civil society. We're part of the change that's been going on in government as well. And we've had our little fingerprints put on a number of things that have happened in the country.
And organizations have copied what we're doing.
Yay!